Why the other 6 princesses refused to serve God. And all of them have gotten married to the men they loved. She accepted the vow. But what happened changed her life. With the blessings of her parents, Chikaima left home, carrying faith in her heart. She journeyed into a new life, a life of devotion. When she arrived at Mercy of Hope Convent on a quiet evening, just as the rain began to fall, the atmosphere was peaceful, yet something felt unusual. Under the heavy rain, near the grotto, she saw an elderly woman kneeling and praying with deep devotion. The next day, while walking in the garden with Sister Buki, Chikaima saw the same woman again, in the same spot, praying with tears in her eyes. Curious, she tried to approach her, but Sister Buki gently stopped her. That woman, she has been coming here for years, she said softly. Always praying, always in tears. That night, Chikaima lay awake. The image of the woman would not leave her mind. There was something about her, something she could not explain. The next morning, after Mass, as she walked quietly through the convent path, she suddenly bumped into the elderly woman. I am sorry, Mama, Chikaima said gently. The woman looked at her long and deeply. Then she spoke slowly. I know you. Chikaima was confused. Know me? How, Mama? The woman paused, then said, I have a son. His name is Anthony. He has not been himself for years because of a mistake he made in his youth. At the mention of that name, Chikaima's head skipped. Anthony? Memories she had buried long ago began to rise. The promises, the bond they once shared, and the day everything suddenly ended when she was told that he was gone. Overwhelmed, she collapsed. The sisters rushed to her aid and carried her inside. But that night, she could not sleep. Everything came flooding back. The past she thought was over, now standing right before her. Days later, the elderly woman returned again, this time with her son. As they stepped into the convent, something unexpected happened. The moment Anthony saw Chikaima, he stopped. Silence fell, and then slowly, he became calm. completely calm. Everyone stood in shock. The same man who had not been himself for years now stood whole. It was as though something had been lifted. Later that day, Chikaima was called by the convent authorities. After long conversations, prayers, and deep reflection, she was gently advised to return home and seek God's direction more clearly. It was not a rejection, but a realization that perhaps her journey was leading somewhere else. With a heavy heart, but a peaceful spirit, she packed her things and quietly left the convent. On her journey home, tears filled her eyes. She wondered if she had failed, if she had disappointed her parents, if she had misunderstood her path. But along the road, a voice spoke. Sometimes, God's will does not look the way we expect. A year later, Chikaima was married to Anthony. Together, they began a new life far away from home. But back in the palace, things were not the same. The 6 princesses who had once rejected the call to serve God began to face a silent struggle. Their hearts were not at peace. Time passed, yet none of them found the fulfillment they expected. One day, when everything became too heavy to bear, they returned home. On that same day, Chikaima also returned. But this time, she was not alone. Beside her stood her husband, and in her arms, a beautiful baby boy. The palace fell silent. The sisters lowered their heads in shame. Then their father spoke. "My children, the vow we made before God was not a small one. You all turned away without a second thought. Now, you have clearly seen the reward of sacrifice and the cost of disobedience."